Now, let us review the fabrications against Solomon mentioned in 1 Kings, since it bears on the Honorable the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in particular. Now, again, it states from 1 Kings. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Edomites, the Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Solomon clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. Now, in the previous message, we already explained one of the meanings of these verses as it relates to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's mission as the Messiah and the purpose of his domestic life. Now, since the Holy Quran exonerates Solomon of the false charges that he violated the command of the Lord, then there's more to be understood as to why Solomon married women who were not specifically of the children of Israel. Now, we covered aspects of the domestic life in this regard in previous messages. We're just going to try to tie it up so we can put at least a comma, if not a period, on the end of it. Now, in the fulfillment of this event in the life of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I want to link two commands, with one command being fulfilled, being the fulfillment of the other command, which is prophetic. Now let us first consider the prophecy regarding the Lord's command of the children of Israel not to marry outside of their community or people. This is described in the book of Deuteronomy. I think in the previous message I alluded to the fact it was in Numbers, so I stand to be corrected. It's in the book of Deuteronomy. Now, as I read these verses, I'm going to add a few explanations to these verses while I read them to kind of bring things into a greater context and a greater understanding. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. Now, this could refer to the 7 European nations that colonized Africa, which are Britain, France, Germany, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. The Caucasian people occupying the Western Hemisphere are made up of these wicked nations of the Caucasian people. Continuing with verse 2. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor shew mercy unto them. Now, deliver here means to expose the origin, deceit, and wickedness of these European nations, the enslavers of the indigenous people of the earth. Smite and destroy refer to the mandate to reject the false social, religious, political, and educational concepts of the rulers of these wicked nations or wicked European nations, which through these systems and false concepts, they continued to keep the original people under their deceit and oppression. And since the Caucasian people are on record as having broken all treaties, or violated all treaties and deceiving the indigenous people with false promises, then Allah requires his chosen people to refrain from the slave behavior of always seeking their friendship and approval and involvement in our affairs. Today, that's a sick mentality. Now, lastly, refusing to show these demons or demonic nations mercy means that the black people of the Western Hemisphere should no longer tolerate injustices and wickedness from the Caucasian people. We are required to fight injustice at every turn, and we are certainly busy doing that. You can hardly turn an unjust rock where somebody of the original people is not standing saying you're wrong, Mr. Devil. Verse 3, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Now, why would Almighty God, who came to save his people from their wicked oppressors and tormentors, want his people to intermarry and mix with the enemies of his people? This act of integration keeps them saddled under the false concepts and immoralities of their mortal enemies. Now, in fulfillment of this divine command, that is Master Farrakhan Muhammad's requirement, that the enslaved black people of America refrain from intermarriage with other than their own kind. In fulfillment of this, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad states the following in the Muslim program under the section What the Muslims Want. He states, we believe that intermarriage or race mixing should be prohibited. We want the religion of Islam taught without hindrance or suppression. Now, this is in What the Muslims Want of the Muslim program. Now, prohibit means to forbid or ban. And of course, black people, we know what that means because we were prohibited of doing anything that was of value to our personal selves for centuries in this country. Now, as most people know, under the guidance of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he forbade his ministers to allow Caucasian people to enter our religious temple meetings. And this holds true today under the leadership of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, the Messiah. Now, some people may say, man, that's reverse racism. No, it's not reverse racism. You're dealing with a group of people who have mastered the sinister and demonic deceptive dealings of undermining everything we try to aspire to. So the best bet is to keep Satan and his imps out of your affairs. Haven't we learned that by now? That's what I mean. Adopting false, silly concepts as if these concepts apply to us. We are a different people. We've been under the foot of our mortal enemies. Now you want to rub elbows with your Caucasian mate or friend as if you're on equal footing. No, that's not the case. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not want them in his temple meetings, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has followed suit. Now, what is the reason for Master Farrakhan Muhammad's command to disallow the black people of the Western Hemisphere from marrying and mixing with Caucasian people? Now, the answer is in the Bible. It states, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Well, we won't go deep into the meaning of this verse at this time. But suffice it to say that our brutal enslavement at the hands of the Caucasian people has made the black people of the Western Hemisphere in particular a peculiarly powerful people, which Master Fard Muhammad has decided to use as the foundation of his eternal kingdom. So at this point, it's really less about the Caucasian people and their demonic dealings and more about our potential as the foundation of God's eternal kingdom. And this is why he has required separation of the original people from their enslavers, the Caucasian people. And he meaning Master Fard Muhammad. Now, of course, this does not mean that the Caucasian people or other races are without God's mercy.